All right, Jeff, Tatum and Brown, we know they had big games. Curry put up game-high 31 points here. We come to expect that, though, from all of the stars from the start of this series. The difference, though, you guys have mentioned it, like Marcus Smart, some of these other role players here, those have been the X factors in these games. Who can have another big game in DFS lineups, Jeff, do you expect on Friday night? You know, someone besides the obvious choices here.
Yeah, I'll go right back to Marcus Smart here. It's no secret that he thrives off of energy. We talk about home court advantage for specific players. He feeds off of that Boston crowd more than anyone on the Celtics. And we saw a different level of focus and effort on both sides of the ball from him last night. On offense, he wasn't just jacking up threes. He was recognizing mismatches, attacking in the post, which is where he's incredibly effective given his size. He was just bullying Steph Curry every time he was on him. And then on defense, we saw it at the end of the game. Curry got it going in the early parts of this one, but Smart was all up in his grill throughout the entire fourth quarter. In front of the Boston crowd, he can absolutely do this again in game 4.
Yeah, Whalen, and Klay Thompson did his best with a series high 25 points for him, too.
Yeah, Klay looked good early in this game. I mean, I think he actually started like 0-3 or 0-4, but, you know, kind of had that same level of confidence that we've seen from him throughout the series and eventually heated up. I thought one of the key reasons that Marcus Smart was so effective in this game, and it wasn't just him for Boston, was they were really effective at targeting both Stephen Curry and Jordan Poole on the defensive end. And part of it was Curry, you know, picking up the 2 early fouls. But, I mean, Boston was just able to bully Curry over and over and over. And, you know, even if Curry didn't have the foul trouble, I don't know what he's going to do to stop Marcus Smart. I mean, he had a couple shots where he just kind of backed him down, shot right over him. Al Horford had him pinned a couple of times. So I thought Boston's role players did a really good job of seeking out those matchups and targeting them aggressively. I think Marcus Smart can continue to be effective in the series. You know, you can kind of choose any Boston role player and make a pretty decent case for why they're a nice DFS play at a cheaper price, because virtually all these guys have stepped up at some point or another in the playoffs, whether it's Smart, Horford, Grant Williams in the Milwaukee series, Al Horford every now and then. You know, really any of those guys I think can step up. And on the Golden State side, I feel like maybe we see more Jordan Poole at some point. I think he's a big part of the reason that they've struggled defensively. I mean, Boston had like 125 points per 100 in this game, which is horrendous for the Golden State defense. But maybe Golden State feels like they just need to try to score with Boston, because it feels like no matter who they throw out there, they're having a tough time staying in front of the Celtics. So, you know, maybe we see more Jordan Poole. Maybe we get an explosive Jordan Poole scoring game in game 4.
Yeah, someone in the middle of the pack here, Friar, that you anticipate, you know, could step up and would be worth rostering in DFS on Friday?
But look, I love the idea of going with Marcus Smart, but when we look at these games too, I can't help but wonder about the NBA's investments in these games as well too, right? We see the refs, and I think there's whoever the analyst is for ABC is talking about, yes, they call things differently within games. And when we're looking at this game, if we think that the Warriors are going to win this game, if they're going to try and extend this series, Steph Curry's going to have to step up. Klay Thompson's going to have to too, and maybe Jordan Poole, to at least 2 of those 3 guys. So I do question how Marcus Smart is going to be called throughout the course of that game. We saw what they just did to Draymond. We kind of suspected that coming in because of the stuff he was saying. Of course, Smart's not saying the same thing, but it could still happen to him. Could happen to Derek White as well. So I'm looking at, so as much as I do think Smart might be a viable option, I'm a little more interested in the Warriors side of things. I think Kevin Looney, you guys touched on a little bit before, they're going to need to turn to him more. So obviously when you're trying to adjust on the glass, when you're talking about the Warriors, he's really the only guy that can make that major adjustment outside of maybe Draymond Green, who, as much as he had a terrible game, and I was fading him going into game 3, I do think in game 4, he's going to have some semblance of a response as well. So those would be 2 guys that I'm looking at for game 4.